Hello and welcome back. So today we're looking at a piece that analyzes the persisting media backlash against actress Sydney Sweeney. Arguing that these controversies, everything from a jeans ad to a red dress, are really just based on hyperbolic projection and manufactured outrage.
And it is a phenomenal setup. It really is. The material makes such a strong case for that projection right from the start.
Yeah.
I mean, it highlights the absurdity of certain corners of the internet equating, like, saying she has great genes in an ad with eugenics.
It's immediately out there. You see right away how ungrounded the whole thing is.
Totally. And you do the same thing with the red dress she wore on Jimmy Fallon.
Right.
Capturing just how unreasonable it is to label a simple fashion choice as some kind of MAGA look. It shows the core analysis is really clear. You've got all the raw material there.
But that leads us right into our first big opportunity for elevation.
Okay.
To really maximize the impact of this argument against manufactured outrage, the piece should more explicitly link all these different examples back to one central theme. Call it derangement syndrome or purity testing, whatever.
I see that. Yeah, I noticed that too. It moves really fast, right? From the American Eagle ad to her movie's box office, then the Republican look dress, and then that statement to People.
Exactly. They all support the main point, but it feels a little like a list of grievances.
Right, like separate complaints over time. And because of that, you risk it reading as a series of isolated incidents instead of what it actually is, a cohesive, relentless pattern of behavior.
Yeah, we need it to feel less like a timeline of events and more like a forensic analysis of a consistent psychological pattern.
You want the reader to see the blueprint for the factory that makes this kind of outrage.
Not just the individual broken things coming off the line.
Yes.
So the core suggestion here is structural. It's about adding stronger thematic connective tissue, maybe a mini summary after each big example that reinforces the pattern you're identifying.
Thematic glue. I like that.
Whether that's projection or shifting goalposts or just, bored absurdity.
Okay, so let's make that concrete. To take the red dress thing.
You use that really specific wild quote from Blake Thornton about white Republican self-heading gaze.
Yeah, which is just peak political hysteria. A perfect example.
It is. So after you use that quote, don't just move on to the next thing. You need to pause, define that moment for the reader.
So, like, add a transition right after.
Exactly. Something like, this is a prime example of the pervasive political coding of non-political acts. Show the audience how critics are actively seeking confirmation bias in the most mundane things.
That one little move takes it from just observation to actual analysis. You're showing the reader how to process the point. It adds so much structural weight.
It really does. And think about the whole sequence leading to her eventual statement.
The one in People magazine?
Right. She's silent during that pushy GQ interview, and then later, only after the movie bombs, she makes a statement. You can't just frame that chronologically.
You have to frame it thematically.
Yes, as the final inevitable stage of this purity test you're talking about.
So the message becomes her initial silence was taken as guilt.
Right, which then required punishment, proving the whole test is designed to fail. An apology is demanded no matter what.
Precisely. And stringing those pearls together like that, that's what turns a bunch of anecdotes into a really robust, unified argument.
That's incredibly actionable. Okay, so let's pivot to a really crucial section. Where the material moves from just cataloging public facts to analyzing internal private decisions.
Yeah, this is where credibility is everything. To strengthen the argument, you have to draw a really clear line between the observable facts, the quotes, the timelines, and the necessary but currently unsupported speculation about her team's motivation.
And we're talking specifically about that core assertion.
The one where you say, I think her team is telling her it's because people are mad.
Exactly. The idea that her statement was purely forced by her team after her movie bombed, not because of any genuine change of heart.
Right. And look, the issue isn't that conclusion is wrong. It probably isn't. It fits the timeline perfectly.
But
the reader is basically asked to accept the causality. The box office failure led to the PR move without any real external evidence. It's presented as a confident conclusion.
We're in speculation territory, and that requires a different kind of rigor.
Establish the known factual timeline first.
And then use that timeline to logically hypothesize about what was likely happening behind the scenes.
That shift from declaration to reasoned inference is the key to authority. We know the timeline. Refuse to apologize to GQ.
Right.
Then the movie doesn't do well.
Then the statement to People. That change in behavior is your strongest piece of evidence. That's what should lead the hypothesis.
So when you're introducing the idea that her team is telling her, you just qualify it based on the evidence you have.
You could say something like, while we don't have direct access to her PR team strategy, the material documents this profound change in her stance.
From staying silent during that aggressive GQ interview to issuing a statement after the box office failure.
This strongly suggests a strategic, career-driven intervention. Something like that?
Perfect. It keeps the strength of the conclusion, but grounds it in observable fact. You're just saying, based on these inputs, this is the most logical conclusion for any observer to draw.
Yeah, you're showing your work. And we need to apply that same rigor to the movie itself.
Okay.
The material says the movie didn't do well, and that movies like that don't usually do super well. If that box office failure is so central to the PR causality you're claiming, we have to bolster that claim a little bit.
Right. We can't just let that statement hang out there, vaguely connected to the controversies.
It needs to stand on its own as a measurable failure point, separate from the Twitter drama.
So you bolster the claim with maybe a brief, high-level comparative example.
Or just a quick analytical assessment of that genre's general performance.
Yeah, maybe a quick line about how similar mid-budget rom-coms have performed over the last year, just to demonstrate the genre struggles.
And that separates the movie's performance from the social media stuff.
Exactly. It proves that the causality you're claiming, that the failure caused the PR move, isn't just speculation based on convenient timing.
It makes the whole argument so much more authoritative, unimpeachable, really.
It really does. Okay, so let's turn to the final point. And this one is maybe the most crucial. It's about voice and audio. The tone, yes. So the material claims to be coming from the rational middle, right? This neutral space critiquing absurdity.
But that central claim is kind of undercut by the frequent use of really inflammatory, dismissive language towards the opponents.
The speaker often replaces that rigorous takedown of an argument with sweeping personal condemnation.
We're talking about phrases like full of shit, your intelligence is in like single digits, or thing ridiculous. They're used a lot.
And the strategic weakness there is huge. If your goal is to be the voice of reason against hysteria, that aggressive tone just alienates listeners who might otherwise agree with you.
Right, you end up limiting your potential audience to people who are already fully on your side.
If you want to occupy the rational middle, the tone has to reflect a higher level of rhetorical control than the opposition.
The language of the critique has to embody the clarity and composure that the other side lacks.
So the suggestion is to temper that hyperbole. Take all of that same passion and energy.
Which is great, by the way. The passion is great.
Oh, absolutely. But apply it toward a more robust, analytical demolition of their flawed logic. Focus the heat on the flawed context, not the person's intelligence.
That's a really powerful rhetorical shift. It's about directing the energy at the idea they're pushing, not the person who said it. How does that look in practice?
Okay, so when you're about to say something like, this just proves your intelligence is in single digits, just pull back. Keep the exact same point, but elevate the language. You could say instead, this demonstrates that the opposition is operating with an unsustainable purity test, constantly searching for triggers that are, just basic, which highlights their total lack of grounded relevance.
That is so much stronger. It has the same sting, but it's directed at the systemic failure of their argument. It makes the critique bigger than just this one actress.
Exactly. You're proving their intelligence is irrelevant. By showing their logic is broken, it's a much more devastating critique.
And let's look at the red dress again through this lens.
Okay.
Instead of just saying the critics are ridiculous, spend more time analytically debunking the very notion that a simple color or a classic silhouette can be a permanent political symbol.
That's the move. Illustrate the absurdity by detailing the history of that classic look. Show that the issue isn't the actress or the dress.
The issue is the critics' relentless, almost compulsive need to code everything.
Yes, it demonstrates a poverty of analysis on their part, and you never have to resort to a personal insult. You win by being smarter and clearer, not by yelling louder.
By shifting that focus, the material really strengthens its own claim of being that rational voice in the center of the storm. That's a total game changer for its positioning.
It makes sure that the speaker's passion works for the argument, not against it.
Okay, we've covered a lot of crucial ground. The material has such a strong core angle that identification of manufactured outrage is just spot on. But the execution can be so much stronger in 3 key areas.
First, structurally, Establish those clearer connections between the controversies. Weave them into a unified argument about systemic purity. Don't just list the evidence, analyze the pattern of it.
Second, you need to elevate the credibility of your causality claims. Carefully distinguish between fact and speculation. Use the known timeline and comparative data to turn your hypotheses into evidence-based conclusions.
And finally, align the tone and style to actually embody that rational middle position the piece wants to claim. Temper the personal hyperbole and direct that brilliant analytical energy toward demolishing the faulty logic of the opposite.
Those are 3 really clear, actionable steps. The core of this is rock solid. We genuinely look forward to seeing how you apply this feedback. Send the improved version back our way, and we will absolutely do a follow-up critique.
Absolutely. Can't wait to see it.
Until next time.